Multigenre Project by Hannah Fisher. I decided to create my multi-genre project to honor my deceased grandmother and to help my mother manage her depression. My grandmother passed away unexpectedly on April 20th, 2016. I remember this day and knew that her passing would change the dynamic of my family. Since her passing, my mother has struggled with depression and has been grieving for almost 2 years. So I decided to dedicate this project to my mother as a way to help her to find ways to deal with her grieving and to help her to cope with her depression. I've incorporated my love for running in my project because running is my outlet in life. I run almost every day, and that's the one time of the day where I am free from my thoughts, and it helps me to de-stress and to block out any negativity going on in my life. So I've tried to encourage my mother in this project to try to get her to find a passion so that she can continue living even though my grandmother is no longer here. My first piece is a poem, and this poem is called One More. If I could have one more lake trip where we would go camping and I would sing Prince and dance the night away. If I could have one more Chinese lunch as I listened to your jokes, I would laugh until I cry and write all of them down. If I could have one more Christmas party where you made it feel like home, I would give you the best gag gift because you would get the joke. If I could have one more day to have you cheer me on, I would feel as if I won first place and give you the biggest hug. If I could have one more race, then maybe I would make you proud and feel your push to say you can run one more. So I decided to write this poem to my grandmother as a way to remember all of the good things that we did together. Like we would go eat Chinese every week together. I used to go camping with them when I was a kid. My grandmother was the biggest Prince fan, so that's always been a huge part of my life. And in my wedding recently, I had a lot of Prince playing at the reception just for her. So this poem allowed me to think about what I would do if I could have another day with her. My second piece is a persuasive article about the benefits of running, and it talks about why people should run, and because it prevents heart disease, and I added that in my piece too. Because my grandmother passed away from a heart attack. It was actually her third heart attack, so I wanted to show how running can help prevent heart disease, especially since it can be genetic, and that's one of my main reasons why I run. And another reason I added these other things like depression, it decreases depression, anxiety, and healing, was for my mom to see, so maybe she could exercise and see that running or exercising can help with healing and depression. I created an informative article about how to cope with grief. I found information from various websites to add to my article to show that there are 5 stages of grieving, and within those stages you can be in different places at different times. And here are some steps to help to cope with grief, even though it may not be the easiest thing to do. It's the start. And one of those things is seek out others, find people who have common losses with you, to find other family members who understand what's going on, to express yourself. Don't be afraid to talk with others, to avoid numbing the pain. I know sometimes people may drink alcohol or take other substances to relieve pain, but that just makes you feel worse even when the numbness is gone. To celebrate the life of the loved one, and to know when to get professional help, and to understand that it makes you a stronger person if you are able to admit that you need help from somebody else, and that does not make you weak. And another thing that I added with how to cope with grief is to be there for your family members. I know that sometimes is hard for me, but it's one thing that through this process and this project has allowed me to understand that I need to be understanding and compassionate with my mother and to be there for her during this challenging time. For my narrative, I wrote a memoir about the day that my grandmother passed away. It was a challenging day for me because on this day I had to tell my grandmother goodbye, and it was one of those moments that I wasn't really prepared to do because there was an issue a month prior on her birthday where my mother planned a birthday party for my grandma and did not invite me to come. So I had no idea that they were doing a birthday party until afterwards. And because I was upset with the situation, I took it out on my grandma instead of my mother, which I should have never done. So that experience taught me a lot about how to deal with issues and problems within the family and to learn how to address situations in the correct way. And it'll forever be my biggest regret, but I have to deal with that and live with that the rest of my life. But I did apologize to her before she passed away. So I continue to try to make her proud and to live my life for my mama. My memoir, it goes, I hate to remember that dreary day in April, the day I received the phone call that changed my family dynamic. I had not spoken to my mother in 3 months, so I knew a phone call from her at 7:30 a.m. was not going to be a positive conversation. Hesitantly, I answered, "Hello?" My mom responded, "Hannah, your mama is in the hospital. She had a heart attack." Without thinking, I called my school to request a substitute teacher and rushed to the hospital. Between the 30 minutes of the phone call and my arrival, my mama was put on the vent and her body was beginning to shut down. I thought to myself, how is this happening? What are we going to do? What about my mother? My mother was my main concern. My mama and my mom were super close. Their relationship made me jealous because I know I can never have that with my mom. I knew that my mama's passing would cause hysteria and uncertainty in my mom's life. The time eventually came for us to tell my mama goodbye. As much as I was prepared to let her go to heaven, I was not ready to confront my mama and talk to her for the last time. My final conversation with her should not have been me apologizing to her, but it was. I knew I had to apologize to her for not calling her on her last birthday because my mom did not invite me to the dinner. Even if I wasn't invited, I should have called her. Allowing the issues with my mother to interfere with me doing the right thing will never happen again. During my final conversation with my mama, I apologized and cried. I knew she still loved me, even if I did not speak to her on her birthday. She loved her grandchildren, no matter what. I promised her on that day to make her proud and to take care of myself. I promised her that I would run a race for her and to strive to build a relationship with my mother. Almost 2 years after her death, I continue to run for my mama. She is my inspiration and the reason I keep pushing forward. I enjoy running because it allows me to reflect on the happy memories with her. It also allows me to have peace and to find ways to help my mom with her depression. My promise will continue to be a challenge, but I will do my best to stick to it. My final piece is a review about my running process. So it's called Running for Her Life. So you think Hannah running miles and miles each day is crazy. And the review says, runner Hannah Fisher strives each day to make her grandmother proud. Each day she runs several miles a day and trains for races. Running is Hannah's way of coping with the loss of her grandmother and her way of dealing with stress. Hannah told reporters, running is the only time I am alone with my thoughts. It gives me freedom from my emotions and allows me to live my life for my grandma. While many may think she's crazy, she is just living life for her grandma, reaching goals, and being her best self. So the purpose of this is just to show how proud I am of myself for finding a hobby and a healthy way to deal with stress and a way to cope with grieving. And it's something that I hope to inspire my mother to do. And I will continue to be there for my mom and strive to help her with her depression and to find a passion in her life. Thank you.